Hey everyone, and welcome to another Marks & Crafts figurine review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the final figurine in the Quintessential Quintuplets Coreful line, which is also the fourth sister in the line. I know it's confusing, it's because I did Itsuki much earlier than I should have. Anyway, we're going to be looking at Yotsuba today, who is the fourth sister in the lineup. These are the Coreful figures made by Taito, which are Crane Game figure prizes. If you don't know the term prize figure, basically they're inexpensive figurines that are mass-produced, done completely by machine, and thrown up in the claw games and other Crane Game machines in Japan and other arcades, and a large chunk of them are usually resold or sold overseas to other companies, and then they resell them locally. And in the end, they're usually pretty inexpensive. There are paint errors and issues and things like that with them normally, but you don't pay much for them, so it's not much of an issue, and there's not much point replacing them unless it's an absolutely major paint issue and things like that. But generally, you have to expect some errors with them. But the Coreful line has been pretty consistently good so far, and we'll be looking at the last sister in the lineup, which is Yotsuba. And I know I've said that several times already, but it bears repeating. So let's get right into it. So here's Yotsuba all set up. She comes in two pieces, which is just the figurine and the stand is set up much like every other Coreful so far, which has got their name and number, as well as the major color that represents that character. Some of those colors are more representative of the characters than others, but for the most part, the color does match who they are. So in this case, it's green, and Yotsuba's got a bit of a green aesthetic. Mainly because of the bows and things like that. Anyway, we're going to be looking at her, and as you can already see, it's a pretty nice, dynamic, and cute pose. Once again, Coreful have just done an amazing job sculpting. They just really have knocked it out of the park. They've really knocked it out of the park multiple times. They just make good figures. And they aren't without their issues, but generally there's nothing major to worry about. And this one's a nice, cute, dynamic pose, good, vibrant colors, and she's a great character. So let's take a closer look. So once again, Coreful have used a very similar face sculpt for this entire line, which is perfectly fine because they're all quintuplets, and it's one of the only figurine lines that I've seen so far that genuinely captures their faces, especially the detail on the eyes and the blush. It's very, very nice. Now, all the Coreful's so far have had this sort of color transition sort of thing with the hair, where it's the sort of main color and then it gets lighter and then transparent at the end. This is probably one of the more subtle implementations of that, where it's only just a tiny little bit at the ends, and it makes the hair just look lighter instead of more clear. And that's actually very cool. I don't know if that was fully intentional, like if my copy was just more painted in than others, but it looks really nice. I hope it was intentional because it's very nice. I like that the mouth is fully sculpted in, because sometimes they just paint that on. And yeah, it's looking really nice. The bow's nice and detailed. There's some cool little bends and folds in it. Nice color, and the bends create natural shadows, which is very cool. The bow just at her neck looks nice. The jumper is well textured and detailed. Makes it look more real. The jacket is a little bit inconsistently painted, like pretty much every other quintuplet Coreful figure. It's just unfortunately something that happens. The finger guns are cute. The winking expression's nice. The leg posing is very nice as well. There is some slight paint issues of where the sort of sock meets the knee, but that's okay, and you can see some paint errors on the leg itself, but nothing too major. When I did pull this out of the box, there were a lot of specks on her face, and I was terrified that those were paint errors, but thankfully almost all of them were just a little bit of dust or dirt. Just this one on the bottom of her chin is an actual mark, but thankfully you don't see it when she's standing up, so perfectly fine. But yeah, she's just yet another fantastic addition to the collection, and she's one of the best girls in the set, and probably one of the strongest characters in the entire series, which is really cool. I really like her, and they've captured her really, really nicely in this. Now, I know this is another short video, just like my Miku one, but I've intentionally kept this one very brief and quick, because there isn't a lot to say, especially with one that has as few paint errors as this one and is just as well structured and colored as this one. But it was mainly so I could finally showcase the full set of figures. So let's line them up in order. So there we go, that's all of the Coreful quintuplets all lined up together. I'll just squeeze them in a little bit tighter. And you can see they look really, really nice together. They're all in scale, all very cute, very nicely detailed. One of the things I will say, it sort of makes Ichika all the more glaring when she's standing out that she was the first in the line, because her body proportions still feel off compared to her sisters. But the renewal version of her looks really, really good, and I'm sure we'll rectify that completely. But yeah, you can just see really good expressions, really nice colors. It's just a really, really good figurine line. And just looking at their bases, you can see they all look nice and vibrant together. This is what I prefer over the sort of pop-up parade hexagons, although I have been thinking about fully customizing those hexagon bases because they seem quite simple to play around with. But this is nice for the figurine line and matches them quite nicely. And yeah, it's just a all-round good set. They're all pretty inexpensive because they're all prize figures, and they are doing the renewal version, so if you missed the first set and for some reason they're reselling for a stupid amount, they will be doing a whole set of other ones. Ichika will be a massive change, Nino will be her season 2 design, Miku's got a different hand setup, I think Ichika's got her hands are in a different position, and Yotsuba's expression as well as hands are different as well. So yeah, they'll be really nice. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you all next time.